Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 mod review. And today we are checking out a new bundle mod that is going to add in a whole bunch of new enemies, and that mod is FallEvil Complete Edition by KbeeAPB and Arroganz. Now, this is going to be a collection of Arroganz creature mods, all of which are from the Resident Evil franchise. Specifically, this is going to bring in the mod Zombie Dogs, Paleheads, Hunter betas, and the Liquor mod, and it's going to combine all four of those creatures into one single file that you can download all together. And each of these creatures is going to have a bunch of different variants, which in total is going to add a whole lot of new enemies for you to encounter out in the Commonwealth. Now, each of these new creatures will be added to the leveled list, so you will find them out where you would find normal enemies, except there is a chance that some of these may show up instead. Additionally, each of these creatures does have full VATS compatibility, so whenever you aim at a body part, it will show up correctly in VATS, which is a pretty big deal for new creature mods. Also, some of these enemies do have custom items that you can find when hunting them, so you may find some new food items or miscellaneous items that can have some uses at the chemistry station or the cooking workbench. Each of these creatures is very well crafted and definitely feels like it fits in the game. With that, let's go ahead and check out each of these individual creatures and talk about what they have to offer. Starting out with those zombie dogs, they will be found just about anywhere that you might find mongrels, so there will now be more dog variants for you to encounter. These guys are going to have a very high speed and high damage, but are pretty prone to headshots. On top of that, you may even find zombie hyenas, which are pretty similar to the zombie dogs, but have less health, but are more aggressive and prone to retreat when injured. And then finally, in the zombie dogs category, you may encounter Cerberus, a horrific enemy that challenges the player by using its gaping mouth to apply a heavy stagger effect and bleeding. It is slow and prone to being crippled in its legs. Adding these guys into the leveled list pool is going to really spice up those mongrel fights to make them actually a bit of a threat, especially in that early game. Typically, walking up on a pack of mongrels doesn't pose much of anything to the player and you can wipe them out fairly easily, but now you kind of want to check them out first and make sure that they don't have any of these higher level zombie dogs running around. Up next, we have the Palehead, which we actually covered in an individual mod review some time ago. This is going to spawn just about anywhere that you could find feral ghouls. These are actually pretty similar to feral ghouls in stature, except the biggest difference is that they do not have any eyes. Due to some strange mutations, they are lacking some vision, though that doesn't stop them from finding their prey, and they now have a powerful regenerative capability. So if you shoot these guys and don't finish them off, they will quickly regain their health back, similar to that of a glowing one. In order to take one of these guys out, you either need something that dishes a lot of damage at once. If you're using something like a measly pipe weapon, they're going to regenerate health faster than you can dish out damage. Alternatively, you could throw out something that does damage over time, like a flamer, to sort of counteract their regenerative ability. Much like the zombie dog, these guys do have variants, so there are regular paleheads, which will start spawning at level 1, so they will spawn alongside feral ghouls from the start of the game. They're very slow, they don't hit for a ton of damage, but they do have very high health, and again, that regenerative ability. Now then you can find the Savage Palehead, which will start spawning after level 35. These are much stronger than the standard Palehead, and are much more aggressive, but they do have less total HP. These guys make for a pretty fun addition to the feral ghoul spawning pool, and overall just more variety for you to encounter in your game. If you're running some sort of zombie loader, I highly recommend this mod for adding even more creature variety for you to encounter instead of the same old standard feral ghouls. Now up next we have the Hunter betas. These guys are huge new mutants that are very similar to the stature of a Deathclaw. This is a humanoid reptile hybrid that is just absolutely insane and deals out massive damage. This thing has a very hard shell and is resistant to most ballistic and explosive damage, but does have a bit of a weakness to energy damage, so keep that in mind in case you ever run into one of these hunters. This hunter does come with some variants as well, including a glowing variant and a quantum variant similar to the Deathclaws in the vanilla game. One thing that is definitely going to be brought up, I know already, is the lore friendliness of a lot of these creatures, and to be fair, since these creatures come from Resident Evil, they don't exactly have a place in Fallout's lore, but aesthetically, I think they fit in pretty well with some of the other mutants in Fallout, and the fact that the original author Arroganz has added glowing variants for all of these enemies kind of helps them fit in with the Fallout 4 enemy base, so I think it works just fine, especially these hunters. This is definitely something I could see coming out of the FEV virus as opposed to the Resident Evil T virus. Which finally brings us to the final enemy added in this mod, the Licker. Now this is actually the first of the enemies made by the author, and this one is definitely going to be the hardest to argue for the lore friendliness in terms of its physique. It has an exposed brain, a very large mouth. It looks almost humanoid, but somehow lost all of its human features, and now it's just a sort of mound of flesh that will attack you with massive claws. This thing is absolutely grotesque and has more in common with the classic Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas style of ghouls than it does with Fallout 4. So this thing may look a little bit out of place in your load order. However, it does add a fun new enemy for you to enjoy with some pretty interesting attacks and animations. Fighting these guys in-game can prove to be pretty difficult as their claw attacks are going to dish out massive damage. These guys are also going to stagger you and cause bleeding with each hit, so they are definitely not something to be trifled with lightly. You can find the Licker enemy just about anywhere that you could find a feral ghoul or a rad scorpion, meaning that you could find these just about anywhere. Anytime you come up on a group of feral ghouls, keep an eye out for one of these as they are going to pack in some massive damage that you are not ready for. Inside of this new all-in-one pack, there are also some static spawns that you may find these Lickers pretty early on in the game. Hint, stay away from Concord, which is going to be pretty difficult if you're following the main quest. And of course, these guys do have a couple of variants as well. They do have the standard Lickers as well as the glowing Licker to help seat them in with the Fallout 4 enemy variety. But yeah, I think that's just about all of the creatures. I may have missed a couple of minor variants that will appear a little bit later in the game, but for the most part, this is what you can expect in terms of the main creature types. You've got the zombie dogs, the pale heads, the hunter betas, and the Lickers. All of which, again, originally made by Arroganz, makes for a pretty cool addition to Fallout 4. Now, like I said earlier, arguing lore friendliness can be pretty difficult, but all you really need to do is swap out the T virus for the FEV virus, and these things I think fit pretty well, at least aesthetically for the most part. Whether or not you're a fan of Resident Evil, I definitely think this is worth at least trying in your load order to add some new enemy variety. But if you are a fan of Resident Evil, then I definitely recommend picking this one up, as it's going to add some really cool new enemies for you to encounter. Now, as of right now, this all-in-one pack is only available on PC as far as I can tell. Hopefully we will see a port to the Xbox at some point in the future, if that is at all possible, as I'm sure a lot of you guys would like to try these out as well. But hey, if you are on PC and you want to try this mod out for yourself, it will be linked down in the description below as always. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a rating. We do mod reviews just about every single day here on the channel, so consider subscribing if you want to see more videos just like this. With that, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace! And really quick, I'd like to make a shout out to all of our patrons. Your donations are greatly appreciated and really help to support the channel and videos just like this one. So again, thank you.